Okay, let me first outline what we want to do with a for loop, how it works with an example, and then I'll demonstrate that using R. So let's say P is a vector of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, up to 38 and 40. So there are 20 numbers in this vector with increment 2. And let's say Q is a matrix of zeros with 2 rows and 20 columns. So let's say there are 2 rows and 20 columns. And suppose I want to do the following. This is just an exercise, so don't ask me why I want to do it. Suppose I want to pick 2 from a vector P, square it, and replace the first element of the second row of Q by the solution. Suppose I want to replace the second element of the second row of Q by the second element of P squared and the third element of the second row of Q by the third element of vector P squared and so on, up to the 20th element 20th element of P squared. Suppose I want to do this with R. So I define vector P with R using create function C 1 through 20 doubled, so each element is doubled. And then to create matrix Q, I can use matrix function matrix 0 to 20, and this will create a matrix of zeros with dimension 2 by 20. And then I can say, okay, replace the 1 element of Q by the first element of P squared. Replace the second element of the second row of Q by the second element of P squared. Replace the third element of P, the third element of the second row of Q by the third element of P squared. So that's what I want to do here. All the way up to the 20th column of the second row of Q replaced by the 20th element of P squared. Now, I could type all of these things, but in order to repeat something similar many times, for this purpose I can use actually a for loop. So instead of these, I can type for I equal 1 through 20, repeat the following task, and the task should be in the following curly brackets. The task to be repeated is to pick the 2i element of matrix Q and replace that by the ith element of P squared. And that's it. This should be repeated for I equal 1, I equal 2, I equal 3, up to I equal 20. When I is 1, this line will be conducted. When I is 2, this line will be conducted. When I is 3, this line will be conducted, and so on, all the way up to I equal 20, and when I is 20, this line will be conducted. So you can see that we don't need this anymore. we only need this. Okay, and actually for our understanding, so if we have some other number here, instead of 20, suppose I have 7 here, then I will repeat this task for I equal 1, 2, up to 7. Okay, so let's do that using R. So I opened R and I create a new R document, and here I type P is 1 through 10 doubled, and Q is matrix of zeros, dimension is 2 by 20, and repeat that for J in 1 through 20, and the task to be repeated is substitute into 2J element of Q, and what I want to substitute is the jth element of P squared. Let's repeat it from J equal 1 through 7. So that's it. This task will be repeated for J equal 1, J equal 2, J equal 3, up to J equal 7. Using J, I, it doesn't matter. So I save this under the name of January 22. And I run this file. Okay, so this line confirms that R actually ran the R file named January 22. Now P looks like this. That's from 2 to 20. And Q is the 2 by 20 matrix. And you can see that originally it was all 0. But now the first to 7th components of the second row are replaced by 2 squared, 4 squared, 6 squared, 8 squared, and so on. And it stops at J equals 7 due to this code. But if I tell R to repeat this task for J equal 1 through 20, resave the file and rerun the file, now matrix Q should look like, oops, okay, sorry, I made this mistake. P should be from I through 20. Good, now P has, let me rerun the file. P has 20 elements, okay. So now Q looks like this. Okay, from 2 squared, 4 squared, up to 40 squared. Let's do one more example of for loop. Suppose I want to create a sequence in the following rule, by the following rule. So the sequence starts with 1 and 1, and I sum these two ones. 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, yeah, and 3 plus 5 is 8, 5 plus 8 is 13, 8 plus 13 is 21, and 13 plus 21 is 34, and so on. Suppose I generate a sequence by summing up two previous numbers to make a new term. So this is A1, the first term, second term. Let's call these A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9, and so on. So basically, A1 is 1, A2 is also 1, and A3 is A1 plus A2. A4 is A2 plus A3. In general, for n greater than or equal to 3, an is defined by an minus 2 plus an minus 1. Suppose I want to know A40. How can I do it? I can use R, and the code is very simple. I create vector A, so I can use repeat function. Repeat 0, 40. This creates a vector of 40 zeros. And then I can say, okay, the first element of A is 1. The second element of A is also 1. And then, of course, the third element of A can be, or it is A1 plus A2. Fourth element is A2 plus A3. The fifth element is A3 plus A4 and so on. But of course, I wouldn't want to repeat this up to A40. So instead of this, I can use a for loop. I can say repeat the following task for n equal 3 to 40. And the task to be repeated is to substitute an minus 2 plus an minus 1 into the nth component of vector A. And as you can see, so this task in the curly brackets should be repeated for n equal to 3, 4, 5, up to 20. So when n starts with 3, so when n is 3, this line should be conducted. When n is 4, this line should be conducted. If n is 5, this line should be conducted. So you can see that we don't need these. We only need this. Okay, so this will do the task. Okay, we came back to our R file. So I can add, actually let me delete the previous task. So A is defined as a vector of 40 zeros. So I use a repeat function here to repeat 0 40 times. And I say, okay, replace the first element of A by 1 and the second element by 1 as well. And after that, for n equal 3 to 40, repeat the following task in the curly brackets, and the task to be repeated is the nth element of vector A substituted by, so substitute, calculate a n minus 2 plus a n minus 1 and substitute that into a n. That is it. I save the file. Don't forget to save the file whenever you update the file. And run the same file. And after that, vector A looks like this. It starts with 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, all the way up to the 40th element, which is a very large number. Okay, I think for loop is the first challenge for whoever learns programming for the first time. So I think you should try several simple examples before you get used to it.